I mean, people always ask me when you think about 9/11. Pretty much every day I wake up, but in a grateful way because I'm alive, which is mind-boggling. And there are times like my wife Allison just the other day, I was telling me like I'm alive. I can't believe that, and it really creeps up on you. And I think about it every day because again, there's so many people don't have what I've had to be able to live 23 years after to see my girls grow up. But I have a great relationship with my Sergeant McLaughlin, who they ended up promoting to lieutenant. We keep in touch, and many other people from that day who have been suffering because of the ailments, including Scott Strauss and Patty McGee,
Hmm.
the two ESU officers from the NYPD who rescued me. They've been battling a lot of things. For me, I've been blessed that even though I have injuries to my left leg that are severe and I have to wear a brace and I can't do things like I used to, I'm still able to do things. Am I waiting for that 9/11 illness to creep up? Maybe it will. I knock on wood, I still am very healthy. Um, as far as the fellow officers, I keep in touch with Christina Rodriguez, Antonio Rodriguez's wife, and I pray for them every single day, all the families. I do know that most of the kids have grown up in a good, positive way. Not only the three that were on my team, but many others. We lost 37. The Port Authority Police did the most in law enforcement history because the World Trade Center was ours. So that's why we lost so many officers, followed by 23 of the NYPD and of course 343 firefighters, and then the countless civilians. So I don't only think about those that were lost directly to me, but everybody that day and how it changed the course of this nation, the course of the world. And what I do in remembering 9/11 is just try to be a good person. I really do. I mean, on 9/11, man, I was a Buffy guy. I mean, I love being a cop. That's all I wanted to be since I was a little kid. And I always thought myself as a tough guy. I was 33. I've been in the military, got out. Not those 9 months leading up to September 11th. I was at the bus terminal, so where you could be a real cop. You
Yeah.
you really dealt with a lot of
Yeah.
things, gang members, unfortunately criminals. Never ever thought about it as a job. It was a dream of mine.
Hmm.
It
Hmm.
was never anything that I went to work fearing. My wife didn't fear it. I would come back with crazy stories that as a young macho guy, that's what you want, and then unfortunately you're hit with reality. I think that things, especially young men, I'll talk about young men that go into the military looking for war, and then war comes, and then you realize, this is something that you hope nobody else sees.
Mm.
And on 9/11, I thought, hey, man, I could save the world. And you realize you're a small speck in this world.
Mm.
What makes us strong is when we come together.
Mm.
And we lost so many people that gave their lives that day. And since then, because I would say 9/11 didn't end that day, it continued on through the GWOT war and so many airmen, Marines, sailors, Army, Coast Guards that we lost kept up that war. And really, just trying to make our world a better place by fighting evil.
Yep.
Because at the end of the day, I tell people, people have always asked me, do you hate Muslims? And I said, I think the testament to me was my upbringing. My mom and dad always raised me to be a good human being. And I remember it was probably like 2 years after 9/11. I was still living in Clifton, New Jersey. And it's literally at the end of Clifton, where I lived, the next town over was Patterson. And that's where some of the hijackers were. So we have a large Muslim population. I remember going to pick up my daughter Bianca at the school, and as I was pulling up, there was a woman about to cross the driveway into the entrance of the school, and she was Muslim. And she had her Muslim attire on, and I had the right of way. I was going to make a left to pull into that driveway, and I saw her like stop to look at me, like, you know, and I said, Will, for a second in me, I was like, fuck her.
Mm.
And then I realized that's not who I am,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I can't be that. I can't be that hate, that evil. So I stopped the truck and I said, "Man, go ahead." I let her walk by. And I said, I won't hate a particular group because of what a small group within them do,
Hmm.
because that's not good advances in any way, shape, or form in a good way.
I mean,